Hey everyone, it's Akiva.
And Mishak.
And welcome to another episode of The Bemused. So today we're talking all about credit, and we're answering questions like, why is your credit score so important anyway?
What is a FICO score?
How is your FICO score calculated?
And how do you check your credit?
So first question, why is your credit score so important? Credit is crucial. You need credit for a variety of reasons, from taking out a loan or a mortgage or trying to get a car note, to even just simple things like renting an apartment that you wouldn't even think that you need credit for. So it's a very, very important aspect of your financial life. If you have a bad credit history or a bad credit score, it can definitely cost you money. So take getting a car note, for example. If you have less than stellar credit, likely you are going to have a higher interest rate on that car note, which will cost you money for years down the road.
All right, so what is a FICO score? FICO stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation. 90% of top lenders will use this FICO score to determine if they're going to lend you money. There are different types of FICO credit scores, but the most common is FICO 8.
FICO score 8 ranges between 300 on the low end and 850 on the top end. And why we called this video Why We Have Better Credit Than Our Parents is because our FICO score 8s are better than our parents. Yeah. Right now we're hovering in the mid 700s, so it's pretty good. So how is your FICO 8 credit score calculated anyway? And it's actually relatively straightforward. So the biggest component, what really drives your credit score, is your payment history. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're paying all of your balances in full, but you're paying on time. That's really what's the most important in driving your credit score. So that's 35% of your FICO score 8.
And what she means by that is if you have a balance on your credit card for $100, more than likely your monthly payment might be about $25 to $35. So as long as you make that minimum payment of $35, you're going to be considered on time. Although you still have a balance left on your account, that the balance matters. I won't say that it matters.
We'll get to that in a
because you might get interest on what the remainder that's left. But in the eyes of your credit card company on the FICO score, in this example, you would have made your payment on time and be considered in good standing.
Yes, so that leads us to the second most important, which is the amount that you actually owe. And it's not necessarily about the dollar amount of how much you owe, but it's how much you owe relative to the original balance of a loan. For example, if you took out a $10,000 loan and you still have $10,000 or maybe more in interest, and your loan is just sitting there accruing interest, that's going to negatively impact your credit score. Similarly, with a credit card, if you have a credit card limit of $10,000, the less that you utilize of that $10,000, the better it will be for your credit score. So that makes up 30% of your credit score. So those are the two big things: payment history and the amount you owe relative to the either full amount of the loan or your credit limit. The next is the length of your credit history. And this is something that's personally keeping me from growing my credit score, just because I'm still, young. I've only had credit for a couple of years now. And so that makes up 15% of your credit score. So the longer, there's really nothing you can do about that. I mean, you can't make yourself older. So you just have to wait it out. And the longer you have credit history, the better it will be for your credit score. Next is new credit opened, and that makes up 10% of your credit score. So that has to do with the amount of inquiries on your credit. If you keep applying for loans and applying for credit, that will negatively impact your score. And like I said, that is 10% of your credit score.
And that was definitely probably a hindrance to me in the beginning, because when I decided that I wanted to get a credit card, I don't know how many inquiries I might have had on my credit report. I applied, I might have got we'll call you when we make a decision, general email or something like that. So I applied again, within an hour, and I kept doing that, not really knowing the effects of it. but it really does, it can hurt you because you're making a large amount of inquiries in such a short period of time.
Yes, so every time you open, like for example, a couple months ago, I opened a new credit card, you're always going to see a little bit of a dip in your score, the next month, but it'll bounce back eventually.
And also you'll see a dip if you close that account. That's something that I had some experience with. As we mentioned in our What's in Our Wallet video, we talk about our credit cards. And I had the Capital One Journey card. And when I closed that account out and when I got the Quicksilver, also with Capital One, I noticed that there was about maybe a 3 to 4 point difference when I closed that card down and got the new card. And for those two reasons, they would be because I closed one account, that's one, and then two, I made a credit inquiry, and that's what, those two factors caused me to dip a little bit.
Right, so that also leads to the last part, which is also 10% of your score, which is types of credit. So that means if you have various different types of credit, you might have student loans, a car note, credit cards, the various different types of credit that you have, the more variability, the better it is.
Next, how do you check your credit score? So most credit card companies will offer this to you for free. It comes on your monthly statement, sometimes maybe a little bit earlier. And then the next option is checking through creditkarma.com.
Or other free sites that will allow you to check your credit.
Unfortunately, I don't have any experience with Credit Karma, more so with my credit card company, such as, again, if you go to our What's in Our Wallet video, Discover offers this and Capital One both offer free FICO scores to you every single month.
The reports that your credit card company sends you every month are definitely very useful, and they usually come with a breakdown for each of the categories that we just went over as to how you fare in each category. So for example, like I said in my credit report, I'd be doing well on payment history. That will be nice and green, and then length of credit will be red because I just don't have a long credit history. For example. And even within the different credit card companies, you should just be careful because they do sometimes pull from different credit bureaus. So there are 3 credit bureaus that furnish these FICO scores. There's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. I'm sure you've heard of these before. And so just, checking, don't be alarmed if there are minor differences between credit scores from platform to platform. Nothing's wrong, it's just different bureaus reporting in different manners.
And I'm glad she said that because, again, if you go back to our What's in Our Wallet video, we both have the Discover It card and the Venture One card. And when we go on pretty much every month to check our credit score, we do oftentimes see a difference in the credit score that Discover might offer and the credit score that Capital One might offer. But I might add that Capital One is really good at determining any new inquiries on your account.
Yes.
I applied for a private loan for my graduate program, and I applied, just clicked send on the computer, and I was getting a notification on my phone
within
almost
seconds.
instantly that something, was going on my credit report, and if it wasn't me, to contact the proper individuals to get it sorted out.
Yeah, so that's another reason why credit card companies who offer that service, it's really beneficial because if there's any fraud going on, if anyone's stolen your identity, you are more aware of what's going on your credit report because they will let you know the second that someone applies for credit in using your social security number.
And you might be wondering, okay, we're saying that we have better credit than our parents, but how did we do it? So I guess we can both give you a brief little overview of how we did it in our own individual ways.